We all like cheese and we like putting cheese in our mouths. Well, congratulations. We've all just validated sexual assault.
Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree?
In Chatelet, my dudes, and welcome to Title IX Can't Catch a Break. U.S. Law is Islamophobic. Geek Girl Con, fake, where our selfie polecats ferret out the best feels, funnies, and what the fucks to discuss Slam Bam Badger style. This is number 121, by the way. Today's show will be broadcast from my little corner of YouTube. Not really. This is actually being broadcast from our... It's not a new channel. It's an old channel that we used to call Badger Cinema. We've repurposed it, and we're going to be calling it Badger Streaming. We're basically going to use it as our streaming channel until the streaming comes back to HBR. And then we may leave it the same way, or we may just start streaming on HBR again. I don't really know. But that won't be until October, so we're just going to go with this system for now. All right, so this will be the case for all of our shows until further notice. So you may as well subscribe to Badger Livestream. That way you can catch our live streams on this second channel, and then when HBR is back up and running, we may move there. So I hope that you guys are ready for these changes. It should be a good time despite everything. I hope we have a ball, as it were. Today's Polecat panel consists of the Polecat Punster and Pussycat Punisher Hannah, Max Darrett, Simpsons kin, not jaundiced, it's not this time, Dr. Random Cam, Panda, Puppet Master, and Long Range Rhetorician, and me with my Globus Cruisinger and Scepter in hand, the Supreme Doge in charge. Today we'll be discussing the following topics, and we have a lot of stories, so we're going to try and get through them all quickly. Always going a shade beyond regular crazy, PETA has declared food can now be sexist, and cheese is the most sexist food of them all. I thought she said sexy, which I totally agree with, but it turns out it's sexist. Geek Girl Con has lost some volunteers because of the mismanagement and mean girl behavior coming from all of those women feminists crucible of women leaders at fake Geek Girl Con. I mean, Geek Girl Con, just regular Geek Girl Con. We know there's no such thing as a fake geek girl. Come on. A bizarre case at USC shows how broken Title IX enforcement is right now. Visualize my surprise. Harvard's federal funding is now at risk because Donald Trump is looking at how they discriminate against Asian students. Looks like we're taking care of China here at home. But this is actually quite an interesting story. A Kansas governor signed a bill aimed at keeping courts from using Islamic or other non-U.S. laws when making legal decisions. Yeah, and? Duh. This upset a national Muslim group who says it's Islamophobic to do so.
My dick.
Yeah, okay. Not surprised there. And our last story for the main show is Uber is having issues selecting a new women CEO. They have essentially put forward an initiative to make sure that they can get a woman in that seat at the top of the Uber pyramid. And they have narrowed it down to 3 men. Oh, the sexism. And finally, our bonus story for the patron-only after show. This is the third in the series of after show topics I'm doing. I will probably continue to do until I get bored or my patrons hate me for it. But I think it's actually been a lot of fun so far. A while back, I placed an order for Milo's book Dangerous from Amazon because while I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, I think he's fighting on behalf of free speech far eclipses any differences that we may have politically or ideologically. I thought it could be fun for me to read from his book to the patrons. So we've been reading a chapter called Why Feminists Hate Me. All of his chapters are named after groups of people who hate him. But I'm reading through it specifically to see what he has to say about his issues with feminism, but also if he has anything to say about MRAs. And there is a section within that chapter on MRAs, which I've been reading and building towards, because I know that Milo's occasionally pissed off MRAs, like he said things in support of circumcision, for example. So we'll see what he has to say in this book. Anyway, if you would like to participate in our after shows, either as an audience member or a participant, please consider becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio.
PETA, otherwise known as the Puntas for the people for the ethical treatment of animals, believe it is sexist for you to eat cheese. No, really, I'm serious. Allow me to read you this quote from an article titled "Why Cheese is the Most Sexist Thing You Can Eat" from PETA's main website. Quote, "Can food really be sexist? Yes, when it's the product of imprisonment, rape, reproductive control, kidnapping, and abuse. Contrary to popular belief, female cows produce milk only when they're pregnant or nursing. They make milk for the same reason that human women do, to feed their babies. Cows who are imprisoned on dairy farms are forcibly impregnated through artificial insemination again and again on rape racks." Apparently that's what they call them. "All for your milk, cheese, and yogurt." Now, if you're an animal rights activist, more power to you. Like, I don't agree with the ultimate ends of most animal rights activists, but I still believe the desire to protect animals is a perfectly honorable thing to pursue. However, to say that unethical treatment of animals, no less, is a product of sexist attitudes and that we should stop eating cheese for that reason is like saying we should stop watching sports because there are male and female divisions. And there probably has been a feminist out there that has said something similar to that in the past.
Fake Geek Girl Con. Get your inclusion on. So apparently there is this thing called Geek Girl Con. It's been hosting its annual convention in Seattle since 2011. Oh, imagine my surprise, Seattle. As a registered nonprofit and draws upwards of 11,000 attendees. Geek Girl Con strives to be an inclusive space for minorities in science and geek culture. And as inclusive safe spaces tend to go, some people have been found more equal than others. As a nonprofit, many of the organization's staff are volunteers, and some drama has sprouted from vocally resigning organizers, accusing the executive director and board of mismanagement of funds, accusing the executive director and board of mismanagement and of funds and discrimination and bullying. Michelle Carrico Domingo, the executive director of Geek Girl Con, was accused of circulating documents with details of private sexual encounters unrelated to Geek Girl Con in an effort to discriminate against and kink shame a volunteer, as cited by GeekWire. Geek Girl Con published a response on its website assuring the con would go on and that the resigning volunteers were only 5 in 50 others who are honored to be led by the executive director. The public letter reminded everyone the leader of the organization is a woman of color, shame, 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 and concluded by reaffirming its guidelines. "We are geeks. We savor the scientific, the logical, and the precise." I'm gonna have a hard time getting through this shit. "We revel We revel in the unknown, the fantastic, and the unimaginable. We exist in the in-between, where the ingenuity stretches possibility and transformation is born. We code, we concoct, we create, and cosplay. The imagination is our only limit, and ours is limitless. We are girls, and we are women, and femmes, and non-binary, gender non-conforming individuals, and we are allies. Basically, we're everything but men. Our personalities are as diverse as our backgrounds and bodies. We are many voices and countless tales. We are diversity, and we defy expectations. We are a community. We break barriers and democratize opportunity. We provide safe spaces to do what we love, learn, connect, invent, and challenge. We are here to fearlessly and fiercely celebrate one another." So they're not going to address these issues of mismanaged funds or anything because it's a woman of color and because of this poem or whatever the fuck it is, this prose. Title IX officials ignore students during adjudication. Now we're getting to the real stories. This is not the first bizarre case we will hear about Title IX, and this will most definitely be the last one, but this particular story will, in fact, be unique. Imagine being a female undergrad on U.S. campus. Then imagine that your boyfriend is then accused not by you, but a third party of sexually assaulting you. Before you know it, he is suspended from the university before an investigation even begins. You then try to tell the Title IX officials of your university that you were not a victim of anything, but instead you are told from those same officials that you must be afraid of him. Suddenly, the university even issues a no-contact order between you and your boyfriend, and you are reprimanded for discussing this issue with a friend who later appears during the adjudication process. Eventually, your boyfriend is expelled from the university without you even offering any piece of incriminating evidence. This is a real thing that happened. This is the story of Zoe Katz and Matt Bormeister, a couple who are undergraduates at the University of Southern California. In the words of Zoe, not the Zoe that you guys might be thinking of, Matt Bormeister did nothing improper against me ever, which sounds like something she would never say. I would not stand for it, nor will I stand for watching him be maligned and lied about, and I implore the USC community to stand together to stop this from happening to Matt or anyone else. What many people fail to understand about Title IX is that for any complaint, a university must do some sort of investigation. Also, what many don't know is that anyone, yes, quite literally anyone, can file a Title IX complaint against somebody else. The person making a complaint doesn't even have to be a member of the university or a direct party to the complaint. For example, what would typically be termed a victim or offender? While many cases without any merit would be dismissed or handled with a small investigation or minimal repercussions, Title IX investigators have a lot of leeway to pursue whatever type of investigation they want. Because of the Obama-era Dear Colleague letter, institutions are afraid of losing federal dollars for not handling Title IX violations on their college campuses. They were viewed as not taking sexual assault on campus seriously. They risked losing money. Because universities must at least investigate, and we use that term extremely loosely when talking about Title IX investigations, every complaint to some degree, universities put themselves in a bind. Even if a victim doesn't want to partake in the adjudication process, or even actively opposes the action being taken against their supposed offender, Title IX must persist. What is also unfortunate for those being subjected to the assault of Title IX on their personal liberties is that many schools have some pretty fair as Title IX adjudications can be when looking at due process in the U.S., rogue Title IX officials routinely ignore their school's policies around investigations, consistently infringing on the rights of the accused. Maybe if schools didn't spend so much time shoving the Duluth model, patriarchy, and other baloney theories down their staff's throats and actually taught Title IX officials to be impartial, the universities would not experience as many allegations of due process violations. Title IX, most recently the Dear Colleague letter of 2011, this is related to Title IX obviously, from the Department of Education, as well as subsequent clarifications, have caused much strife for students accused of sexual assault on college campuses in the United States. Many students, mostly male, have been railroaded out of their institutions on little to no evidence of wrongdoing. A few weeks ago, Honey Badger Radio discussed the story of Betsy DeVos, something we were just talking about, President Trump's secretary on education, meeting with a wide range of people. DeVos met with rape survivors and their advocates, students falsely accused of sexual assault and their advocates, as well as some specialists on sexual assault on college campuses. Included in the meetings were also some men's rights advocates from the NCFM. By meeting with MRAs, DeVos drew the ire of many victim advocates and feminists alike. By wanting to hear all sides on the discussion, DeVos was immediately criticized. Weeks later, the Department of Education is requesting input to alleviate unnecessary regulatory burdens in accordance with Executive Order 13777. I almost expected that to be 66 for some reason. Execute Order 66. Enforcing the regulatory reform agenda. The public have a great opportunity to offer their views on any aspects of the Department of Education. Specifically, we could hope that Title IX in its entirety receives a hard scrutiny, especially the Dear Colleague letter of 2011. If you would like to offer your opinions on any part of the Department of Education, please follow the links below to the regulations.gov website. This is a very rare opportunity for the Department of Education to hear you and your views on Title IX and due process violations that have ensued. And
So-
if you want to go there, there are links. There's a link to the show notes in the low bar of this video on the YouTube, as well as if you go to our Patreon and go to the posts, you should see it there right at near the top. So go there or go to honeybadgerbrigade.com. You'll see the links in the story, in the article that is titled with the same title as this video. Trump's administration is addressing the discriminatory outcome of race quotas at Harvard University, which may put the school's federal funding in jeopardy. Early reports suggested the Trump administration would launch a nationwide assault on affirmative action programs. However, it has been clarified to be limited to a probe into a single complaint to the civil rights units of Justice and the Department of Education. It was filed by 64 Asian American groups under the banner of the Coalition of Asian American Associations in 2015. According to the College Fix, when Harvard University faced this regulatory complaint, the Obama administration gave it a pass, citing ongoing litigation on the subject. By nature, quotas prioritize other factors over merit, and in this case, it appears Asian American admissions are being artificially held down at Harvard. The complaint cited a book by Radford and Espenshade that reported Asian Americans needed SAT scores that were about 140 points higher than white students, all other quantifiable variables being equal, to get into these elite schools. Chunyan Lee, a board member of the Asian American Coalition for Education, told the College Fix many students and organizations had filed complaints with the two federal agencies since 2006 that allege severe discrimination against Asian Americans in higher education in violation of Title VI. However, over the last 10 years, the prior administrations have not conducted objective investigation into these complaints, the statement added, thanking the Trump administration for providing Asian American students with equal protection under the law. Hannah, since you wrote this one and you're here, why don't you tell us about it? It's
you want me to read it?
the Kansas governor story.
Okay. Well, the first thing I got to clarify: this isn't just Kansas.
No.
And the Kansas story was sent to me a few days ago, and I put it in our sort of queue for what stories we're looking at and everything. And then when I got a closer look at it, it was from 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking into this more. This has been going on since about 2010. So for almost a decade here, we've been seeing states do this. So I'll go on to the story. Requiring the use of U.S. law in U.S. courtrooms deemed discriminatory. I'll just let that sink in for a minute. Several U.S. states, Montana and Michigan recently prominent among them, have passed or are considering laws barring courts and, in some cases, government agencies from using foreign laws to inform their decisions. This would limit courts to U.S. law in both criminal and civil matters and prevent agencies from obligating citizens to adhere to or penalizing citizens under non-U.S. laws. The wording of Michigan's bill is specifically protective against the enforcement of foreign law or contract provisions if such would result in a violation of a right guaranteed by the Constitution of this state or of the United States. Opponents of these bills, which do not single out religious law, have dubbed them anti-Sharia bills and are condemning the trend as Islamophobic. The Council on American Islamic Relations condemned a 2012 Kansas law of this type as being written to target Islam, despite the fact that it did not mention Islam or Sharia law. Opponents of that bill and others like it have complained that the trend singles out Muslims for ridicule. They also argue that such bans could nullify wills or legal contract between Muslims, yet are unnecessary because American laws prevail on U.S. soil. These self-contradictory arguments are being made in response to each bill, that if passed, these laws would affect contracts and other legal actions, yet that they are unnecessary because only U.S. laws are currently in use. The question is, if only U.S. laws are currently in use in these states, how could banning the use of foreign law affect any existing legal actions?
Uber can't catch a break. I love this one. Uber can't seem to shake off the funk they find themselves in after questionable allegations of sexism and the resignation of CEO Travis Kalanick. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Former Uber CEO Kalanick found himself in hot water after President Donald Trump took office, as he was part of Trump's Economic Advisory Council. Oh no, supporting people. Despite severing ties with Trump and amid allegations of impropriety, Kalanick stepped down as CEO on June 21st due to pressure from investors, though he still maintains a seat on the company's board. Ever since Kalanick's resignation, Uber has been looking for a replacement and has taken heat for narrowing its choices down to 3 male candidates. Those quick to cry sexism failed to notice that of the potential candidates so far, Facebook's chief operating officer Sheryl Sandberg, I didn't mean to put so much emphasis on the word, on the Berg part, General Motors chief executive Mary Barra, and HP, as in Hewlett Packard's chief executive Meg Whitman, shut up Meg, have all turned the job down. Despite this, Uber finds their hiring practices being slammed as misogynist and sexist. Even if Uber does manage to hire on a qualified female CEO, it is uncertain if their reputation will ever recover.
If you enjoy our content, I would recommend supporting us so that our content doesn't mysteriously vanish into Google's black box at some point. Into the deep,
Google's black hole.
into the deep,
Black
the deep
crevice.
chasm. Yeah, the black crevice.
Oh, jeez.
The black sucking crevice at Google. Anyway, that's feedthebadger.com. Every little bit helps. Throw $5 in the hat, and we will appreciate it and continue to do these things that we are doing right now and stopping at this moment. Go ahead, Brian.
We are stopping now, so thank you for joining us. I'm going to be reading Milo's Dangerous in the after show. If you are one of those patrons, I will see you then. And as for the rest of you, I don't know. Good night. Why aren't you in there
Good
with
night,
us?
anus people.